Welcome back to the Strata Start Guide. In this final session of the guide, we are doing a research review on the data behind the milk and reproductive benefits of improving your omega ratio with EPA-DHA omega-3s in Strata. Let's start with the milk research. Research from the University of Florida and Cornell University confirmed that there is a clear linear milk response to feeding EPA-DHA omega-3s early lactation, with 2.7 pounds of milk for every 1/10 pound of Strata fed, up to 4/10 of a pound of Strata yielding 10.8 pounds of milk. It is important to note that the p-values of these studies were all highly statistically significant, at less than 0.01, both on the total pounds response as well as that linear correlation. Also know that there was a range in days in milk in these studies, with Strata fed in the Cornell study out to 50 days in milk, and in the Florida studies out to 67 days in milk and 105 days in milk. Now on to the reproductive research. There are really two ways that Strata improves reproduction. First, by improving embryo retention, or said the other way, reducing early abortions. Second is by improving early conception rates. Let's first take a look at the embryo retention side of things. This graph shows the results from two major studies, one done by Dr. Jose Santos while he was working in California at UC Davis, and the other by Silvestre and Santos at the University of Florida. What we are looking at is that percent loss between day 32 and 60. A preg check was done at 32, and then came back to reconfirm the pregnancy at day 60. In both of these studies, the percent loss was around 12% with a regular Energy 2 fed diet, and dropped in half or more when Strata was fed. Regarding conception rates, this study looks at feeding Energy 2 as the control in gray, compared to Strata early lactating diets in green, and versus feeding Prequel with omega-6 in the close-up pen, and then Strata early lactation in blue. As you can see, there's incremental gains from starting with Prequel with omega-6s in the close-up, followed by adding EPA-DHA omega-3s in early lactation. Now let's move on to a quick math exercise to look at the economics of feeding Strata to early lactating cows. Let's walk through the 1/4 pound feeding rate example, and the 4/10 of a pound feeding rate example is there as well for you as a comparison. First, the early milk response for a 1/4 pound feeding rate is 6.7 pounds of milk. Secondly, at $18 milk, that leaves us with an income of $1.21 per cow per day. Then you subtract out the cost of Strata at about 25 cents per head per day, and that leaves you with 96 cents of profit on milk alone, or a 1.4 pound break-even milk response for that 6.75 pounds of milk. This is the quick math, and certainly we could get more complicated. This example does not account for any carryover milk benefit, later lactation from feeding the omega-3s early, nor any of the reproductive benefits, so that is all upside. The good news is that the math works well on milk alone, making Strata an effective way to significantly improve the reproduction and productivity of your herd. Well, we've come to the end of the Strata Start Guide. Let's recap some of the main points for you to consider. First, most lactating diets have less than an ideal ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s, creating a significant opportunity to improve health and productivity of our dairy cows. Second, just 0.1 pounds to 0.4 pounds of Strata can shift that omega ratio to less than 5:1, freeing up energy that can be redirected toward milk and reproduction. Third, this response is beyond added energy, as all treatments had equal amounts of energy and total bypass fat. Thus, the results are really from improving that ratio of omega-6s to 3s. And lastly, Strata math works well on milk alone, providing a low-risk, high-return opportunity to improve early milk production and reproduction in a way that is good for both your cows and your bottom line. For access to all of the technical research and other resources on omega balancing, be sure to visit virtusnutrition.com.